Hello and welcome to Pixel Magic Tutorials. I am your host Geekman, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to have an actual tutorial ready to go. What we're going to do is explore how I come up with concepts and ideas for my designs by building something on the fly as I go along. So that's what I'm going to do today. We'll see if it works. Okay, so with that said, a couple of assumptions I need to get out of the way right off the bat before I begin. Now, the first one is I am now using Photoshop CC 2018, not 2017, but 2018. That's the newest, latest, greatest version of Photoshop. So if you're using an earlier version of Photoshop, some of the things that I'm doing and some of the effects may not work as expected. Second, I am using Windows. So if I say hit the Control key, that means the Command key on a Mac, and if I say hit the Alt key, that means hit the Option key on a Mac. Okay, and one last thing, on Windows with this newest version of Photoshop CC 2018, there is a known bug with the Alt key when using keyboard shortcuts, which means that when I hit the Alt key in any keyboard shortcut, let's say, for example, Alt backspace to fill something with the foreground color, I have to hit the keys twice. Okay, it's a known bug. Like I said, Adobe is aware of it and they're working on a fix. I'm sure it'll be fixed very soon, but it is something that does slow down my workflow, and it became annoying to me, so I reported it, and apparently I wasn't the only one. So with all of that said, let's get started by hitting Control-N on the keyboard to bring up the new image dialog box. And I'm going to go with my standard tutorial size of 3840 by 2160, 150 pixels per inch, RGB color, 8-bit. Background contents, I'm going to be changing it. It doesn't matter. I'm using sRGB and square pixels. Hit Create. We're ready to begin. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to get my background done. Now, my background first, let's rename this as Sky, because it's going to be the whole sky. And I was playing around. The way that I came up with the idea to try this today is I was playing around with a filter, a render filter for trees. Okay, if you didn't know, there is a filter up here called Tree under Render, and it's something that I use for making trees for silhouettes or for pastoral scenes and stuff like that. But I started playing around with it, and I came up with what I thought looked like a really cool conceptual tree, and I wanted to use that in a wallpaper. So I came up with an idea for a wallpaper where I'm going to do a little green hill with a little valley right here, and I'm going to put a sun up here. It's going to have a nice deep blue sky. The tree will sit on top of the hill right here, casting a shadow, and there'll be maybe some clouds. And that is my whole idea, and it's going to be a flat-ish kind of minimalistic looking scene, and that's as far as I got. And I said to myself, instead of coming up with this and then showing people how to do it, why don't I just show people how I build this and see if people like that. So that's what we're doing today. It's not really speed art, it's just me working through the process of discovery of coming up with a new design and actually just making it as I go. So this is not pre-planned. I don't know what I'm doing, so bear with me if I make mistakes. So I'm zooming out so that I can actually build the little hill and valley right here. And the way that I'm going to do that is with a new pen tool that comes with Adobe Photoshop CC 2018, and it's the Curve Pen. Okay, Curvature Pen tool. Now, if you don't have this, you can use your regular pen tool and build this any way that you want. I'm going to use this because it's fun to play around with new tools. So I'm going to start out there, and then I'm going to go up here like this. Yeah, right about there. And then I'm going to come down here and do another one like this, like that. And then I'm going to come up here like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then down here like that. And then maybe like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to bring this guy down so that we've got more of a hill here. Let's get this like this. This down like that. Move this over here. Okay, so now I've got a nice looking little valley and hill here. It's a little too harsh. Let's go with this. This looks better. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So there is my mountain, my little hill, I guess, and a little valley, and then going back up. Okay, now before I do anything, I want to put this on a new layer, and I'm going to make this a selection. So I go up here to make selection, click on that, feather 0, anti-alias, and new selection, hit OK, and there we go. I've now got my hill. And I need a green for this. So I'm going to go and pick a nice green. Let's go with a more greeny green. Maybe something like this. No, you know what? I've got a green picked out here under my themes, under this flat design swatch. What is this? Mono green with blue. I'll just use this guy right there. Okay, and I'm going to now fill with this green by hitting Alt and backspace and then twice because of the bug. And there we go. Then I can hit Control D on my keyboard to get rid of my selection, and I now have my hill. I did not do my sky yet because I wanted the green for the hill so that I would know what color my sky should be. So let's go over here and let's pick out a nice kind of tealish, but it wants to be a little dark because I'm going to make it closer to sunset rather than sunrise. Just came to me. Why not? So let's do that. And then let's just fill that with, yeah, that looks pretty cool. I kind of like that. I might want to make that sky a little lighter, but we'll see. The next thing that I want to do, let's rename this as ground, just because I like to keep my palette neat and know where my layers are. And I'm going to name this sun. And we're now going to make a sun. Now the first thing that I need to do is find a nice yellowy sun, maybe something a little bit more orangey, like so. That looks pretty cool. And then I'm going to go to U, which is my tool, and I'm going to go Shift until I see a circle. There's my elliptical tool, and then I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to make a nice round circle for the sun, like so. And I'm going to put that way up over here. So now I know that my sun is here. I'm going to put my tree right here. Now I can go up here to this. I'm going to make this a tree. And now I'm going to use that filter I was telling you about. Now I already made the tree, I think, if it's stayed. So let's go here to Render and Tree. And there is a tree. Now I happen to like having like a thing out here. Now, if you've never used this, before I go into what I like and don't like, if you've never used this, it's pretty easy. You can choose a tree, and you've got all these different trees to choose from here. And I like the Sakura Cherry Blossom. That's what I'm using. But they've got lots of different trees here to use, from stylized trees all the way up to oak trees, and you can just play around with that for days. The light direction through Discovery, I found out that the further to the right you make this slider, that means that the light source is over on the right. And as you get towards the center, it moves to the middle. Okay, you can't get, I don't think, behind it. So it's not like a 3D tree. It's just the left and around the front to the right. So there we go. Now for this tree, I happen to like the way that this looks. There's a whole bunch of other things here. You can change the amount of leaves that are on there. So I've got it set to 50, but you can have less leaves. You can have more leaves. I liked 50 because it showed some of the branches more, which I like. Leaf size, you can make them bigger and smaller. Branch height, that's how tall the trunk of the tree is before branches begin. So I've got it set for 170. You can set it up, the higher you go, the higher the branches start. So if you go all the way up here, it gets really small up on top, or you can go all the way down here and it turns into just this giant bush. So I like the 170, so I'm going to leave that. Then you've got branches thickness, how thick the branches are, and you know, all the rest of it. Default leaves, you can change your leaf type if you want, and randomize shape. If you leave this checked, this is very useful if you're doing a lot of different trees. You just leave it randomized, and then you make a tree, and then you just repeat the filter, and it'll do trees, but they'll all look different. It's a very cool way to make quick forests. Okay, but I happen to like the look of this particular tree, and I want my light direction to be from this side, because this side is going to be the one facing the sun. So I'm going to want this over here on the left-hand side, but I want to get some shadows on the right-hand side. So I'm going to move this until I see some shadows on that right-hand side that I like. Something like this, maybe. Straight on over at 0. I'm getting some nice shadows, but they're all up there. They're none touching the bottom of the trunk. But I can fix that. So I'm going to leave that right there. Actually, let's move this over a little bit more. Maybe I could get some shadows up in those leaves. That's not really working. So I'm just going to leave that. All right, and then we're going to go over to advanced, and this is where you can choose your colors. Okay, so I chose this very hot pink, and one bad thing about this, something to keep note of, is you can't use hex numbers here. You have to use RGB or HSL. So I'm using 251, 68, 223. And the branches here are just a darker shade of that, 168, 2, and 143. So it's the same color, just darker. Flat shading of leaves, you can do that, but I wasn't too impressed with that. I kind of liked having a little bit more speckle in there for this. This look, flat shading, is more in keeping with a real flat art kind of look, but I'm going for something that's flat art inspired, not really flat art. So enhanced contrast on leaves, you like that because it gives you a little bit more color in the leaves, which I like. Flat shading for the branches, you can do that, and then they just become this flat, but I don't like that. And then leaves rotation lock, you can do that, and that's I like a little bit more fuller leaves in there, so I left it. So here we go. We're going to go with OK, and we now have our tree. Now that we have our tree, we're going to flip it. So we're going to go to Control T. We're going to right click, and we're going to go flip horizontal, and you can now see that the sun is lighting up one side of the tree more than the other. And then we're going to make this smaller so that it will fit on top of our little hill here. We'll make it a little bit smaller, like that. That looks pretty good. And we'll put you down here, and we'll just move you down until you're sitting pretty on the hill like so. That looks pretty good. Maybe could be just a wee bit smaller, and then move it over a little bit more like so. There we go. We now have our tree. All right, the next thing that we want to do is we want to give this tree a shadow that's being cast by the sun. So we're going to duplicate this by hitting Control J. We'll move it underneath our tree. We'll name this tree Shadow. Okay, we're going to change our colors here back to default black and white, and we're going to fill this with black, but first we're going to lock our transparent pixels. So that's this guy right here. Now our transparent pixels are locked, and I can just hit Alt backspace twice, of course, to fill it with black. You can see over here that it is filled with black. Then I can uncheck this, and now what I can do is Control T, and I can flip it vertically, and then I can move it down until it is touching the bottom, like so. And then I want to turn it like so that it looks like it is being cast by our sun, like that. And then what I want to do is, you can see right now it's a straight line, and that makes this look extremely flat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this puppet warp up here, and now I can grab this and make it follow the contours of the hill more, like so. So yeah, now we have a tree that is following the contours of a tree shadow that is following the contours of a hill that it's sitting on. And then I can hit enter, and then I can zoom in down here, and I can make this fit a little bit better underneath the tree, like this. There. That looks pretty good. Zoom back out, and here's our sun, there's our shadow. Looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to take some of these floating leaves, I want to put them down over here on the hillside so it looks like they have fallen off and landed on the hill. So I'm going to get my lasso tool. I'm going to go back to my tree here, and I am going to zoom real close, and I'm going to grab these right here. Copy V, and then I'm going to go to my move tool, and I'm going to put them down here. And then I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to grab some more, and I'm going to Control T. I'm going to turn them. I'll squish them down a little bit, like this. And then I will put them up here, like so. And then I'm going to grab some more. I'm going to go back to my lasso tool, make sure that I'm on my tree here, and I'm going to grab these guys right here, like that. And I'm going to go Control V, and then I'm going to go to my move tool, and I'm going to grab them, and I'm going to bring them down here too, like this. Okay, and then I'm going to grab some more, and I'm just going to keep doing this. So I might speed this up in the edit, just so that you don't have to sit through all of this, but as you can see, it's pretty quick and easy to do. And that's really all that there is to it. You're just grabbing things and moving things around so that you can get a nice look that you like. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to grab some more, go back to Lasso. While I'm working on this, I'm going to just merge those down. I'm going to go back to my tree. I'm going to grab a few more here. Let's grab these guys like that. Copy V. Let's grab these guys like this. Then let's duplicate them, put them over here, Control T, turn them around like this. Squish them down a little bit, squish them down like that, and throw them up here like that. And then what we can do is we can merge all of these again, Control E to merge them. Then I'm going to duplicate them and I'm going to put them down over here, Control T, do like that, like this. Like so. Okay, that looks pretty good. Looks like I got some leaves on there now. All right, so the last thing that I think I want to do, and again, I'm doing this really quick. You can take the time that you want to make this perfect for you. But the next thing, and maybe the last thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to give it some clouds. Nope, second to last thing. After I do clouds, I'm going to give this all a texture because it looks kind of flat and boring to me. So I'm going to give it a texture, I think. Make it look like it was done on paper or something. All right, so let's do clouds. And for this particular design, I think clouds are going to be the kind of thin, vaporish clouds that you would expect to see in this. Now you can do clouds like people normally expect, which is like circles everywhere up here, and they look like big white puffy clouds, but I'm going to go for something different. So first thing, I'm going to switch my foreground and background, and then I'm going to go to my Lasso tool. Okay, and I'll show you a quick way to make some really neat clouds, and all you have to do is scribble with this, with your Lasso tool. So you just go, you got to have an idea of what you want. So I think I'm going to want clouds that kind of go like this, right? Something along that line, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scribble. I'm just going to do this, right? And then I'm going to do this. And I'm just going to keep doing this like that. And then I'm letting go. Okay? Now I've got this, and I'm going to hit Alt backspace, Control D to deselect, Control T to transform. Whoop, my mistake. Escape, Control Alt Z Z Z. I need to do that on a new layer, don't I? Ha ha ha. Alrighty. So let's grab this. Let's Control E that. And this is going to be leaves. There we go. Now I can go up over here, and this is going to be clouds. All right, and I'm going to do this again, like this. Alrighty. Like that. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to hit Alt backspace, Control D, Control T. I'm going to bring this down. Let's bring this back like this. We just want it barely over here like that. A little lower like that. That looks pretty good. Hit that. There's our some clouds. And we're going to make the opacity here only 65%, let's say. That looks pretty good. Now I want some clouds coming in this way. So what I'm going to do is make a brand new one. I'll call it also clouds. Like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. Okay, and then Alt backspace backspace, deselect, and let's do this like so. That looks pretty good, and I'll do that, and let's bring that down just a little. There we go. And now we make this also 65, and we're done. So now we have a very nice looking scene. What was that? Okay, good. All right, now we can blow that up. Now we can see that it's a nice looking little scene with some clouds up here. These clouds up here don't look so great. You know what? We are going to redo them. Deselect. And we're going to do new clouds. Lasso. And let's do this. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Scribble. Backspace. Deselect. V. Whoop. Here we go. And Control T. Let's bring this down a little bit. Like this. Enter. That looks pretty good to me. Now we just want to give everything a nice little bit of, well, I'm going to group all this, and then I'm going to give this a nice layer style of a pattern overlay. And let's find, hey, that looks pretty good. What am I using? What are you? Is this towel? What is this? You are loose threads. Loose threads is good. I like loose threads. That looks nice. I like that. I'm going to keep that. So I've got that at 10 overlay, 150. I forget what I was using this for, but okay. I like it. All right. There we go. And here we have a complete wallpaper that I just made up with you here live. Looks pretty good. A little dead here maybe, but it reminds me of minimalistic wallpaper, and it's very neat. And I like the tree with leaves down here. I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, so again, I did this in less than 20 minutes, including my intro, and it looks great. I hope that you enjoyed this. I did. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. If I get more than 100 thumbs up, I'll do another one just like this. In any case, this is Geekman signing off for Pixel Magic Tutorials.